It's time for the Stock Car Show on the Performance Motorsports Network. Powered by the staff at Race Chaser Online. Your motorsports, your way, every day. And now, here's your host, Tom Baker.
Welcome, everyone, to another edition of the Stock Car Show as we kick things off again here on the Performance Motorsports Network, Spreaker, and, of course, Race Chaser Media's Facebook Live. My name is Tom Baker, and I am joined at the table here in the Race City USA Race Chaser Studios by Jacob Seelman from Speed Sport, who was at Daytona all week. And he and Kyle Souza, who is joining us via the Race Chaser hotline, were both in Daytona. And, of course, Kyle also wandering around at New Smyrna doing some coverage for NASCAR home tracks over the week as well. So lots to talk about there. We've got Randy Miller behind the glass along with Chris Murdoch handling all of the audio and video production quite capably once again. And, of course, we remind you that this show is brought to you by HMS Motorsport, the leaders in motorsports safety. You can find them on the web at hmsmotorsport.com, and we'll also tell you about my computer career a little later on as well. So we kick off our Daytona review show. We'll have CJ Leary, by the way, from the open wheel side of things, joining us a little later on in the program as well.
He won during Speed Weeks, too.
Yes, and Jacob was also there. Jacob was everywhere last week in Florida. Jacob was also there on Saturday night when CJ won at Bubba Raceway Park in Florida, and he'll talk about that. It was a big win for CJ, first time with a new team. So we kick things off here as we get going this evening with, of course, conversation about Daytona, and Kyle Souza joining us for the first short while here on the program. And I guess I'll start with Kyle since he is on the phone with us now. Kyle, you were down there, and you were specifically honed in on yesterday's Daytona 500. A big win for Denny Hamlin. I'm curious your thoughts on that and also the race in general.
Yeah, good evening, guys. A fitting end, really, for the Daytona 500 to see JD's number 11 and Denny Hamlin at victory lane. And I think Joe Gibbs called it the most emotional win of his career, and that goes with anything, not just in racing. We know he's won a lot in the National Football League as well. So obviously a really big win for that Joe Gibbs racing team. Really big win for Denny Hamlin, too, and that this kind of brings up the conversation now, with that JD situation, and they're kind of putting that in the rearview mirror now, having won the Daytona 500, not only winning, but having a 1-2-3 finish. The second discussion I've kind of been thinking about today on my plane ride back to the snow was, does this make Denny Hamlin a Hall of Famer, even though he hasn't won a title? Breaking into some pretty steep territory there by winning his second Daytona 500, and he did it in just 3 or 4 years, which I think is a pretty big deal as well. My thought overall in the race, a pretty good race, honestly, compared to what we saw the rest of the Speed Weeks. 90% of the Daytona 500 I felt entertained. The last 10% of the race, though, maybe not so much. A lot of red flags there and carnage. But as you come to expect when drivers are chasing the Harley JRL Trophy. Jacob, I know you were there as well. A different perspective from me. You were down in the infield in the media center. I was up in the press box taking in the fan perspective, I guess you can call it, with the grandstands right outside. And a lot of people there at the end of that race in front of the press box cheering out a guy that I know me and you have both covered, and Tom as well, in the modified ranks, and a guy that I'm really impressed with yesterday, Ryan Preece, avoiding those wrecks. And coming home with a really strong finish in his first restrictor plate race.
Of course, you mentioned Ryan Preece first off as a specific, but yeah, I've got a lot of things. There's a lot of things to unpack in everything you just mentioned. And since I haven't had a chance to say it, good evening, everybody out there, because I'm back from my odyssey that I was on the last week.
Yes.
That's my first thought, because it was a long week.
I'm sure it was.
In Daytona Beach.
Yeah.
It was fun, but it was a very long week. And Kyle kind of said where I was going. My first immediate thoughts from Speed Weeks 2019 is that Sunday's Daytona 500 basically saved what was otherwise a really forgettable Speed Weeks at Daytona International Speedway as far as I'm concerned. The truck race on Friday night was an absolute wreckfest mess. The duels Thursday before that, save for Joey Logano being a hero on the last lap, were snoozers. The Xfinity race on Saturday put me to sleep by lap 40. God bless Michael Annett for winning, but that was bad. It was just bad. And everybody in the media center, I feel like, had basically predispositioned themselves that we were gonna not have a very entertaining or very fun Daytona 500 on Sunday.
That's what they get for thinking.
And as you just said, that couldn't have been further from the truth. This race, from the drop of the green flag, was, in my own words, fantastic. It had everything I feel like you should want out of a Daytona 500. It had 2 wide racing. It had 3 wide racing at times, which made us all a little bit nervous, as it tends to do at Daytona. You had underdog stories. You had dominant drivers. You had an underdog story who was the dominant driver. You had guys who were looking for their first 500. You had guys who were looking for multiple 500s. And at the end of the day, you had the Hollywood ending, or the storybook, that Joe Gibbs correctly called a miracle after the race, because at the end of the day, I think there was a little extra push there, maybe, that because of circumstances just kind of let it all work out the way it was supposed to. Of course, Denny Hamlin winning the race in memory of the late J.D. Gibbs, carrying J.D.'s number, the number 11, and for Joe Gibbs Racing, who less than a month ago lost one of their leaders, this was the night where everything got better finally, Tom, or at least started to get better. This was the night to pay tribute for everything that J.D. Gibbs did and meant to that company.
Randy, do you feel like Daytona and Speed Weeks was forgettable? I mean, what are your thoughts on yesterday's race?
No, actually, I enjoyed the Xfinity race was a little bit boring for me, but the other 2
that
races
was forgettable.
Absolutely lived up to all of the hype of Daytona, definitely.
Yeah, I thought so too. I thought the week was great. I mean, the duels were a little bit uneventful, but I guess I would want it that way because you don't want to crash a bunch of Daytona 500 cars. And I thought the truck race was fantastic, despite being a wreckfest. I thought it was a fantastic race. Really enjoyed that. The Xfinity race I thought was a snoozer, but what do you do? Last year we had 5 overtimes, and this year we had no race at all, really. It was just single file the last few laps. Happy for Michael Annett, and I thought the Daytona 500 yesterday was awesome. Would have hoped maybe for just a little bit less of disaster at the end, but certainly that goes along with pack racing. We'll break this down further here as we move along in the program. Kyle, you were there yesterday, and I think probably one of the Hollywood stories. We'll talk more about Hamlin winning and the whole J.D. Gibbs part of it in a bit, but I feel like one of the big Hollywood stories yesterday was Matt DiBenedetto and the job he did in the Levine Family Racing 95 car. He really put on a show, and the number of laps he led, the amount of time he spent running up in the front, until he was taken out, I thought he was on his way to potentially winning that 500.
Yeah, I agree. And a pleasant surprise, really, for me. I think I tweeted that at one point during the race. Really a pleasant surprise. Somebody that I knew had some speed, but I wasn't really sure, Jacob, that he was going to be able to dominate that race like he did for a while. And I'm not so sure that it should be a surprise. I mean, that team rebranding, basically putting themselves in a lot better position going into the season. Definitely not, showing us that he's going to go out and win a ton of races this year because it's Daytona, but a very strong run for him. And really, you're right, Tom, in a good position to have a shot at winning that race if that big melee doesn't happen in turn 3. I know Paul Menard taking full blame for that. But Jacob, DiBenedetto, obviously, I think a story I read earlier today said he was heartbroken. Just a complete heartbreak for him to lead that many laps on the biggest stage in a brand new team, brand new car, and not only to end with a bad finish, but really to end with a destroyed race car that even if they didn't win the Daytona 500 with, was going to be usable at least somewhere else. But now I'm not so sure that it's usable after that carnage in turn 3.
Randy almost had an attaboy because he picked Ibarita to win. So
yeah, Randy almost had an attaboy.
I think I'm almost as heartbroken as he is.
I will correct you, however, Kyle. Denny Hamlin lost a car and many of the field lost a car, but those cars can't be used anywhere else because when we go to Talladega in May or end of April, it's a completely different rules package, and the teams have said they have to build the cars completely different. This was the last race with this package and these cars. Most of the teams said that even if they hadn't wrecked on Sunday, these cars were going to the scrap heap anyways because they can't take them to Talladega.
Yeah, and I think that's in the whole other discussion, probably for a different time. The question I have now leaving Daytona is, what are we going to see at Talladega after watching what we saw yesterday? I'm not so sure it can get much better than that. I mean, they were 2 wide, 3 wide at times in the middle, the second half of that race. I mean, I'm not so sure that that new package can be much better. I know the rest of the week, especially the duels, maybe even the clash, weren't really up to par. But when you get 40 cars out there, and I think we heard this in the media center after the race from a couple drivers, when you get 40 cars out there, they're going to dice it up. And the last 50 laps or so of that race, I mean, it was anybody's ball game until we started wrecking cars, and then it was really a Joe Gibbs versus Joe Logano, it felt like, type deal. But, yeah, I'm not really sure what that's going to mean going forward to Talladega.
Well, just I know we're getting ready to go to break. Just to be clear here, two things to kind of put a bow on everything you said. Number one, when we started wrecking cars, it was Joe Gibbs versus the world, and it was only versus Joey Logano because his Ford friend at the end didn't go with him. I think that was the unfortunate thing. The second thing that I'm going to just pose rhetorically, Tom, is Kyle, why are you asking me about Talladega when we got 3 races to unpack after the break? That's don't rush it. Come on now.
Yeah,
I always look ahead.
It's a good question to ponder for as we go forward here. Right now, we're going to just step aside for a bit. When we come back, we're going to talk about the McDowell-Logano situation. I have some thoughts on that. I'm sure everyone else does too. And much more as we are just getting started on the Stock Car Show for tonight, presented by HMS Motorsport, the leaders in motorsports safety. You can find them on the web at hmsmotorsport.com. We'll be right back.
You own a performance car and you know how to drive, but you want to learn real performance driving. Well, Bunky, get that car off the street and onto the track. Summit Point Motorsports Park, the Mid-Atlantic's premier road racing facility, located just over an hour from D.C. in nearby Summit Point, West Virginia, is the place to go. And you'll find that Friday at the Track is going to give you what you need. For less than a monthly car payment, you can attend this regularly scheduled one-day instructional event in your street car on one of Summit Point's 3 world-class road racing circuits. You'll receive classroom instruction, skid pad instruction in their cars, including front and rear skid control, and 4 20-minute in-your-car instructional sessions from a professional instructor. Have fun, go fast, and really learn how to drive. Call 304-725-8444 for class schedules and details. That's 304-725-8444. Friday at the Track at Summit Point Motorsports Park.
Green light. Hey girl, school zone. I'm getting hungry. Car changing lanes. You want to meet me for pizza? Stop sign. Intersection clear. Yeah, street. Pizza sounds good. Ballin Street? Girlin Street!
It's hard to concentrate on 2 things at once, like texting and driving. Stop the text, stop the wrecks. How will you stop texting and driving? Tell us at stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Here's an important message from RAD and this station.
Hi, this is Bob Sheehan from Blues Traveler for RAD, recording artists against drunk driving. I like to party just as much as the next guy, maybe even more. But the one thing I won't do after I've had a few is get in the car and drive. Don't blow it. Always choose a designated driver. Remember, music lives, and so should you.
Automotive technicians and auto service trainees, how would you like to work at the beach and perform for one of the best car care centers in the nation? Louis Meineke is now looking for skilled automotive technicians to join their award-winning team. If you're a gearhead that knows his or her stuff, or a young up-and-comer that has the motivation and drive to succeed, then you need to make this call today. 302-827-2054. Lewis Meineke Car Care Center, located in beautiful Lewis, Delaware, offers a highly competitive compensation plan, great benefits, a flexible schedule, and did we mention that you're going to be working at the beach? Plus, there's a signing bonus for the right candidates. Technicians must be ASE certified and have a minimum of 6 years experience. Beginners advance at your own pace in one of several entry-level positions. But whatever you do, don't wait. These jobs will go fast. Call Tim at 302-827-2054. That's 302-827-2054. Lewis Meineke Car Care Center. Rev up your career.
Hi, I'm Tyler Reddick, and you're listening to Race Talk on the Performance Motorsports Network.
Welcome back to the Stock Car Show here on Performance Motorsports Network and Spreaker, as well as our Race Chaser Media Facebook Live page. However you're watching or listening to the show, we appreciate it. We're glad to have you with us. Tom Baker, Jacob Seelman, and we've got Chris Murdoch and Randy Miller on the other side in the tech shed handling production. Kyle Souza on the phone with us from NASCAR Home Tracks, and he handled our Race Chaser online coverage yesterday from Daytona. We thank him very much for that. Kyle, okay, I'm gonna start with you here because a little bit of controversy erupted after the race, and then subsequently has been discussion on social media throughout the last 24 hours or so. Toward the end of the race, Michael McDowell was in contention for the win, as was Joey Logano. Had a restart, the last restart, and McDowell, rather than going with Joey Logano, chose to go with Kyle Busch. The two of them then had a brief discussion after the race about it. What are your thoughts as to McDowell's choice to not go with his Ford teammate, note my air quotes for those of you watching the video, versus going with Kyle Busch? Kyle Souza?
Yeah, I'm 50-50 on this, and I had to watch it back actually this afternoon when I got back and unpacked from 10 days in Florida, which, by the way, was sunny and warm, as Jacob can probably attest to.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Whatever.
But looking back at the tape, I've watched it 2 or 3 times this afternoon and a couple times again this evening when I was eating dinner. And I'm not so sure that they really had a shot to win the race either way. I know that Logano a little bit frustrated that McDowell didn't go with him, and I can understand that frustration. I think the bigger deal there at the end was I'm really not convinced at all that they were going to pass Denny Hamlin. The precedent that I had seen in the last 20 or so laps was Hamlin's going to get out front. Before him, it was Kyle Busch is going to get out front. And it's going to take more than 1 or 2 guys to gang up and pass them. And I think talking with a couple of drivers after the race and talking with some fellow media on the way out, I think it was going to take more than just one guy pushing Joey Logano. And the matter of that is simply because there weren't many cars left on the track at the end of the race that were really in the draft. And I think that plays a much bigger role than people think. And I think when you go back and look at the duels on Thursday, there's only 18 or 20 cars in the race, and that might be part of the reason that it produces single-file racing, just simply because the disruption of the air isn't as big in a shorter race like that with smaller amounts of cars. And we kind of saw that at the end of the race with the guys, even some of the guys that were out there, even Logano, had damage. So should McDowell have gone with him? I don't know. I mean, yeah, certainly as a Ford, air quote, teammate guy, yeah, you'd expect him to go with him. But on the flip side, I also expect Michael McDowell to make moves that he thinks is going to win him the race, which he felt that he did. I saw a video on Twitter of him talking just after he hopped out of the car, and he said, hey, I'm not paid to push Joey Logano to the win. I'm paid to get the best finish I can for myself, and it didn't pay off for him, the move he made, but I guess in the end it's worth a shot. He's got to do what he thinks at that time is best, and these are split-second decisions. These are not well-thought-out decisions at 200 miles an hour on a 2.5-mile, 31-degree banking track.
Well, our chat generally agrees.
Please, because because I was actually in the middle of the Michael McDowell, Joey Logano thing on pit road.
Let me get some of the chat folks in, and you can follow up. Last couple laps should be every man for himself, says Justin Sullivan. Brett Guzik, unfortunate to see not much help for McDowell out there with one of the cleanest cars on track. He just got hung out to dry too many times. Jonathan Heitzman got to go with the best chance to win, and so you say.
All right. I say I was actually standing right near the 34 and 22 when all of that broke out, and he and Joey had a little bit of a discussion, we'll call it, after the race, and Michael was very emphatic in a point that I agree with, and I'm about to piss off a lot of Ford faithful when I say this. Michael McDowell is 100% correct to do what he did, and Joey Logano can whine, and wah all the way home. I'm sick and tired of this one Ford philosophy, even at the end of these races. It is every man for themselves. It is NASCAR's biggest race. You do what you have to do to win the Daytona 500. I applaud Michael McDowell for not going with Joey Logano because, as he said to me immediately after the race one-on-one, Joey had damage, and Michael did not believe that Joey was going to be strong enough as the lead car to be able to draft up and take a shot at the win and give him a shot at the win. I'm done with these manufacturer games. We need to get back to drivers actually racing for drivers.
Randy, do you agree or disagree?
Somebody's angry tonight.
I am angry tonight.
Jacob's triggered tonight.
If you're Michael McDowell, I mean, obviously he's right. You go with the person that is likely going to get you to the front. So, I mean, if you saw that Joey had damage, obviously damaged race car at Daytona, your aero's not as good, so you think, okay, Kyle's going to be the one that's going to get me there. I don't think that. I mean, obviously no one caught Denny Hamlin anyway, so at the end it doesn't really matter. But I mean, you got to go with who's going to give you the best chance to win. So.
And I agree with all that 100%. Look, I mean, I think a lot of times Joey gets a bad rap because he's Joey, but this time I don't agree with him. I understand you like help from your guys that are in your club, so to speak, and if it were Brad Keselowski, then I could also understand that better to a point. But because of the damage Joey had, Michael's got to do what he thinks he needs to do to win a race, and frankly, I think he made the right choice, even though it didn't result in what he had hoped for, of course. But I think going with Kyle was definitely in that circumstance the right thing to do. Okay, Kyle Souza, because I know we only have you for a short amount of time here, I want to give you a chance here. We've got about 4 or 5 minutes left. I want to give you a chance to talk about New Smyrna just a little bit because you spent a lot of time there, modifieds especially. Talk about the week that was at the World Series for the mods.
Yeah, great week down there, Tom. Really, the beginning of the World Series, unfortunately, we ran the opener on Friday night without problem. Saturday and Sunday, a washout. A ridiculous amount of rain in just a couple of days, and really a down to what looked like was going to be a phenomenal 9 nights of racing. Well, we ended up racing 7 nights, 5 of them, as you mentioned, the Tour Tape Modifieds in town. And we started the week with a really, really strong field of cars, mix of Race of Champions cars, NASCAR Wheel Modified Tour, Valenti Modified Series, Tri-Track regulars, a wide variety of different modified drivers down there, and the bigger names going into it, we knew were going to be threats. Guys like Doug Coby going back down there, really for the first time in his career to run the full week. Ryan Preece was going to run a couple races. Matt Hirschman was going to be down there again looking for another title. I think the guy that a lot of us really overlooked going into the week was Chuck Hosfeld, and he was Mr. Consistency. They didn't win a race during the week, but he did what he needed to do. Every night, had about a top 5 car, I'd say, bottom of the top 5 just about every night. And in the end, he wins the championship for the week. His second career title, his first one was back in 2012. And really, Chuck kind of putting a couple people on surprise throughout the week. As I said, a lot of speed in practice, enough speed in qualifying in the race to stay towards the front. And Hosfeld wins the Tour Tape Mod title. I think the bigger story out of this week, though, guys, Friday night, just before the Richie Evans 100, I talked to Phil Moran, the crew chief for Doug Coby, and he was thrilled with what they had found in their setups down there at New Smyrna. Told me it was a lot of money to go down, a lot of time out of the shop, and a lot of time for the crew members but 100% worth it. He feels like they learned a ton, and they are much better off going into the 2019 season, and that could spell trouble for guys on the Wheel Modified Tour.
Well, Jacob, anytime you hear Phil Moran saying something like that, that should be bad news for the competition. But he mentioned Hausfeld. I thought Hausfeld and Money Matt were really big stories out of that division all week.
Yeah, and you're surprised at this because why?
Oh, I didn't say I was surprised. I'm just saying I thought it was the truth.
I think the only thing I'm surprised about here is that Hausfeld didn't manage to actually win a race. But, I'm actually really happy to see him get back to a World Series title. I think it's long overdue, and I think it's a good step in the right direction for that team. As far as the big race of the week goes, the Richie Evans 100, Matt Hirschman. We call him big money for a reason, don't we, Kyle? And I'll be honest with you, there's a part of me that says, and has always said in regards to the World Series, that the points championship is great, yes, but the big races are the ones that matter, and Matt Hirschman took away all the spoils of everything. He took the Blewett Memorial, and he took the Richie Evans 100. As far as I'm concerned, that puts Hirschman head and shoulders above everybody for the entire week.
Yeah, and I think the bigger story out of that, not only winning those 2 races, but winning 3 in a row to wrap the week. And he had a car that definitely could have won on Monday. And Doug Colby, who won the first race of the week on Monday, even said he thought Matt Hirschman was just as good, if not better. Tuesday, I think the bigger story out of all this, Jacob, you mentioned Matt Hirschman. They were caught up in a bad wreck on Tuesday, and it looked like Tuesday night when I left the facility, they weren't sure they were going to be able to run anymore during the week. That bent the frame. They had a significant amount of damage. They had welders, tape measures, just about everything you could think of out Tuesday night and through, a good chunk of Wednesday, getting that car back together. He dominates the Richie Evans 100. He pretty much dominated Thursday. And I know the Blewett Memorial, he ran second to Ryan Preece for a lot of it. But when it was go time, it was go time.
It was go time.
That one as well.
Definitely.
And I think...
Go ahead, Kyle.
And I just think that overall, you're right, Jacob. I know Chuck Hausfeld won that title, but I think Matt's the big money story again, and a couple of the bigger money races and the bigger prestige races. He does it again. I know he didn't win that title, but if he didn't DNF Tuesday, even if he finished 8th or 9th, he walks away with that championship.
Absolutely.
Rather easily.
Absolutely.
So, that's the main thing for me.
That crash was the one thing that derailed his title. Otherwise, it's Matt Hirschman all week.
And with that, man, Kyle, I wish we had you for a little longer tonight, but we appreciate you jumping on and sticking with us for a couple segments anyway. And thanks again for the coverage on Race Chaser Online. We really appreciated it. You did a great job yesterday. And that is Kyle Souza as he heads off. He is, you're going to be, of course, seeing all his stuff on NASCAR home tracks throughout the year once again, and hopefully more with Race Chaser as well. With that, we step aside. More Daytona talk when we come back. This is the Stock Car Show here on PMN Radio, presented by HMS Motorsport, the leaders in motorsport safety. You can find them on the web at hmsmotorsport.com. Be right back.
Do you love the sound of high revving motors and the smell of burning rubber? Do you want to get your car sideways right at the ragged edge of control? If you've always wanted to try drifting or learn to improve your drifting skills, Summit Point Motorsports Park, the Mid-Atlantic's premier motorsports facility, has the expert instructors and the specialized track to teach you how to drift and the skills necessary to drift competitively. From skid pad to open sessions, Summit Point Motorsports Park has the safe and open environment that allows drifters of all skill levels, new to intermediate, to get sideways and smoking. With a focus on safety and the skill set necessary to drift competitively, Summit Point Motorsports Park's Drift Nirvana is just the thing for you. Call for your reservation today, 304-725-8444. Or for more information, go online, summitpoint-raceway.com, or you can email them at office@bsrinc.com. Drift Nirvana, getting you sideways the right way.
HMS Motorsport is the leader in motorsport safety. HMS serves the majority of Monster Energy NASCAR Cup, Xfinity, Camping World Truck, IndyCar, and IMSA WeatherTech teams, as well as countless SCCA and club-level racers and driving enthusiasts throughout North America. Featuring world-renowned brands like Schuberth helmets, Schroep belts, Adidas suits and shoes, Lifeline fire systems, and even Racecom radio kits, HMS has the right product for your type of racing and your budget. Their representatives are experts on only one thing: making your track driving as safe as possible. With locations in Mooresville, North Carolina, and Danvers, Massachusetts, the HMS staff is always ready to take the time to help you find the right product for your safety needs. Don't settle for second when it comes to motorsport safety. Stop in to HMS Motorsport. Visit them on their website at hmsmotorsport.com or send them a message on Facebook and tell them the folks from PMN Radio sent you.
What an awesome game. What's up with your car? I don't know. It won't start. How are we getting home? Chill. My parents signed me up for the roadside assistance from Lewis Meineke. It was free with my oil change. They'd come and get the car started or get us home and tow the car to the shop.
Good to know. With my driving, my parents never know what to expect.
When you join the Meineke Car Care Club with a $35 preferred service, you get 4 free months of roadside assistance, including tire change, battery jump, lockout service, towing, and more. Contact Lewis Meineke, located on Route 1, or call 827-2054.
When do you think of a plumber? Like most people, even if it's an emergency, you can be confident about who will arrive to help you. For quality and reliability, count on someone you can trust. Call on the plumbing services of Hague Quality Water of Maryland. Plumbing doesn't have to be an emergency. We handle all kinds of preventative maintenance too. Hague Quality Water of Maryland is family owned here in Annapolis since 1993. For a refreshing choice, call us at 888-84-WATER or visit us online.
COPD, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, is a lung disease that robs people of their ability to breathe. As many as 24 million Americans suffer from COPD, also known as chronic bronchitis or emphysema, and half of them don't know they have the disease. If you or someone you love is over 35 and has smoked more than 100 cigarettes in their lifetime, visit driveforcopd.org and take the screener, then take that to your doctor. I'm Jeff Stoltz, and I drive for COPD.
Hi, this is Austin Terrio, and you're listening to Race Talk on the Performance Motorsports Network. Now back to the show.
Welcome back to the Stock Car Show, presented by HMS Motorsport, the leaders in motorsport safety. You can find them on the web at hmsmotorsport.com. If you have anything that you need with regard to driver safety gear, whether it is a head and neck restraint, a helmet, gloves, seats, shoes, belts, whatever it is, you can find it at hmsmotorsport.com, and they have 2 locations if you want to go visit one of them in person, one here in Mooresville, North Carolina, and one up in Danvers, Massachusetts. We really appreciate everything that HMS Motorsport does to help make this show happen. We'll tell you about our other sponsors later. Right now, though, as much as we enjoyed all the festivities over the weekend, was a couple of things that we would like to address here. First of all, today, of course, is the 18th anniversary of the day that we lost Dale. And I don't think that you could go through a conversation about the Daytona 500 without thinking back to 1998. Every man on every crew, all of that.
Came out to the edge of pit road to congratulate the man who's won everything there is to win in this sport except this race until today.
Yeah.
Appropriate that I got a chance to catch up with Mike Joy before Sunday's Daytona 500.
Well, and Mike called that so eloquently, and I think every year we think about Daytona, you will always think about Dale, I think, and his presence at Daytona was always large. Mm-hmm. Of course, 2001, just there was a piece of NASCAR that died on that day. That there's a void that you'll just never fill. And as we remember Dale, I think also we need to take time to remember a gentleman who passed away over the weekend, who in his own way, I think, affected the sport in just such a big way, in a positive way. Sam Bass passed away after a long battle with kidney disease. And, I had the chance to meet Sam a couple of times. Jacob, I know you did as well.
I'd actually talked to Sam a couple months ago.
Sam was one of the nicest gentlemen that you will ever meet anywhere in your life, and loved racing, had a great passion for it. Of course, his talent in designing and putting the artwork together is just unmatched. And to think that there will be no more Sam Bass artwork is just, to me, also a very sad day for the sport. But, Sam, I feel like this is one of those situations where you don't like to see someone's quality of life be affected the way that Sam's was. And I just, we certainly are going to miss Sam. That's for sure.
So just to be clear, I'm going to tackle this in 2 stages because you gave me a lot to unpack there.
I try.
First, I'm going to circle back to today being February 18th and the anniversary of Black Sunday. For me, there are a couple of there are maybe three phrases in all my years of being in and around NASCAR that are embedded in my brain that will just never leave. One of them we actually just went through, every man on every crew.
Yeah. I got choked up saying it.
The second, of course, as Mike so eloquently put it again, 20 years of trying, 20 years of frustration. Dale Earnhardt comes to the caution flag to win the Daytona 500. And then that third phrase that's burned into my memory forever came on February 18th, 2001, when Mike Helton came up to the podium and said those words that now live pretty much in infamy as far as NASCAR fans go, that this is undoubtedly the hardest announcement I've ever personally had to make, but after the accident in Turn 4 at the end of the Daytona 500, we've lost Dale Earnhardt.
Yep.
NASCAR has lost its greatest driver ever, and I have lost a close friend. And I think that second statement that Mike made is the one that really hits home every time we go through February 18th, because Dale's impact on the sport was not just as a driver. He was one of those people within the sport that everybody in one way or another could relate to or associate with. Whether you loved him or whether you hated him, you had a reason to connect with him. And for me, I think that's why when Black Sunday happened, that's why it rocked the sport to its core. Because, as was said in the days that followed, NASCAR's compass lost its north.
That was actually said on that evening when Fox came back on.
During what?
I forgot what it was, but they had a little.
Update. Yeah, what's now NASCAR Victory Lane on FS1.
Yeah.
John Roberts hosted it at the time. I think that was Mike Joy that actually said that.
Yeah, it was because I was sitting here thinking you missed one of the iconic lines.
Yeah, NASCAR's compass has lost its true north.
Yep. And again, you're right. Whether you like Dale or you didn't like Dale, you focused on Dale. You paid attention to Dale, and Dale was the face of the sport, and he was 10 feet tall and bulletproof. And he came at a time when the sport was ready to explode, and it was in large part because of him and his connection to the hard-working man, in America, that I think the sport did explode.
Yeah, I would agree with that. It's it's funny. It's funny that we bring this up and have this show happen tonight, because of all things to come across my listening playlist on the way home from Daytona this afternoon was actually the documentary. The Day documentary that Fox Sports did in regards to the 2001 Daytona 500, and I was listening to that actually in the last couple hours of my drive. And what you just said actually was echoed by Marty Smith from ESPN in that documentary. It couldn't happen to Dale.
Yeah.
You looked at him and you said, no, it's not possible, and yet there it was.
Well, and, here just this past week, we had the Fox special Unrivaled about the rivalry.
And I'll tell you, I finally got a chance to see the re-air of that, and that was fantastic.
Incredible. And, I don't think people had any idea how closely the two of them were linked and how much of that was actually the two of them kind of, in a way, kind of orchestrating it or amplifying it.
Yeah.
You know, they knew what was going on. They were aware of its effect on the fans. And, you know, it really was an interesting relationship that Dale and Jeff Gordon had. So, yeah, certainly a big loss. I mean, Dale's presence will always be a part of our sport. Absolutely. Through, of course, Dale Jr. and all of the other folks who, you know, were around in that period. Yeah. And Sam Bass, of course.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah, if I can get to I know I'm going to push this segment long, and I'm sorry, but if I can go back now to the second part of what we were talking about with Sam Bass. There were a couple emotional parts to this weekend for me in terms of that, actually, not the least of which was Sunday morning in the hours leading up to the Daytona 500. Jake Owen, who played the 500 pre-race show at the Speedway, was introduced in a media press conference on Sunday morning, and this was really what got me choked up. Chip Weil, the track president at Daytona, and the rest of the staff have a tradition of annually presenting the musical act or guest artist that performs the Daytona 500 pre-race show with a Sam Bass guitar. And it got me when Chip Weil said to Jake Owen, "We're presenting you with the last Sam Bass guitar." And that it didn't just get me. I was sitting next to Dustin Long and Nate Ryan, and it got all of us that were in that little circle there. And how appropriate it was on Sunday. I hated to see William Byron collected in one of the big ones there close to the end of the race, but how appropriate it was to see one of Sam's paint schemes in William Byron's Flames car not only lead the field to green in the Daytona 500 on Sunday, but to contend to lead laps and to be a powerhouse the way he was. I just thought it was a very fitting tribute. There will not be anybody that comes along, I don't think, ever in the sport again that takes to artwork the way that Sam did and provides to the sport in the way that he did. Sam Bass didn't do it for the glory. Sam Bass did it for pure love of the sport and pure love of the gift that he was given to provide that artwork to the teams, to the fans, to the drivers. And that selflessness is what always stuck out to me about Sam and what I'm going to miss the most.
We will always remember Sam Bass, and we will never forget Dale Earnhardt. We will be back with more of the Stock Car Show. We go back to Daytona for more conversation from throughout the weekend when we return. Stick around.
Everywhere you go, you hear it and you see it. It's coming at you through your phone, your tablet, and your computer. It's broadcast from your favorite radio station, TV networks, and cable companies. It's in the stadiums, the arenas, the ballparks. It screams for your attention at the mall. It's interactive on Main Street. It's even coming at you from the gas pump at the nearby convenience store. What is it? It's digital content. It's digital content. It's digital content. Somebody has to create it. Somebody has to manage it. So whether your dream is to write it, design it, create it, call it, produce it, voice it, host it, light it, shoot it, switch it, record it, color correct it, edit it, code it, repurpose it, tweet it, blog it, post it, compress it, upload it, replay it, or make sure it gets to where it's got to go when it's got to get there in the format it's got to be in, you need to attend Carolina School of Broadcasting. The skills you will learn, the experience you will get, and the connections you will make at Carolina School of Broadcasting will open the doors to the career you want in digital content creation and digital content management. Call or come by today. Click csbradiotv.edu.
Parents, your son or daughter has had their license for a while now, but you want to make sure they're prepared for any situation they may face on the road. High school driver's ed doesn't teach them to drive defensively. They need to be prepared for any highway emergency. For less than a month's insurance, and a whole lot less, BSR instructors at Summit Point Motorsports Park in nearby Summit Point, West Virginia, will teach your son or daughter how to respond instantly and positively to unexpected situations on the road. BSR's specialized accident avoidance training teaches swerve to avoid maneuvers at highway speeds, ocular driving, which focuses driving attention on ways to avoid accidents, vehicle dynamics and feedback, skid control, and skid recovery, threshold braking on straights and progressive aggressive braking on curves, and off-road recovery techniques. This is stuff driver's ed simply doesn't teach. So call BSR today, 304-725-8444. Give your kid the skill set needed to drive safely and responsibly on the highway. That's 304-725-8444.
This is a test to find out if you know it all when it comes to children. Name one of the leading killers of U.S. children age 1 to 13. What's the best way to protect children in a car crash? At what age and size should a child start using a booster seat?
Don't assume you know it all when it comes to car seats for your child. Go to safercar.gov/the-right-seat and know for sure. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Hi, I'm Ben Rhodes, and you're listening to the Performance Motorsports Network, the voice of motorsports.
All right, welcome back to the Stock Car Show as we bob and weave to Jim Croce and Ben Rhodes, bringing us back from the break.
99.
99.
I couldn't get used to that Friday.
Number 99.
I could not get used to that.
That's one of my favorite numbers, so I'm happy to see him carrying the 99 on there. Anyway, welcome back to the Stock Car Show. Tom Baker, Jacob Seelman, Randy Miller, Chris Murdoch also behind the proverbial glass, and he is punching all the video buttons correctly. We go back and we'll revisit the 500 a little bit later, but we want to talk about the Xfinity race. We're kind of going, I guess it's a little bit of devolution here as we go backwards instead of forwards in time.
A lot of cars did that on Sunday.
Yeah,
Saturday.
A number of them involuntarily. The Xfinity race on Saturday, of course, not nearly as much excitement as maybe one would have envisioned.
Right.
But I think a lot of stories in this race.
You better believe that.
Nonetheless, Jacob, and I know you're anxious to talk a little bit about this race. You were there.
Yeah.
I'm going to defer to you. Go ahead and start us off, and we'll hit Randy.
So.
Well, we won't hit him. We'll go to
Yeah.
No, please don't. Please don't.
This is something that I've actually thought a lot about today, is the Xfinity race and the ending. And even though it wasn't necessarily an exciting race, the storyline and the prevailing storyline of this race, it's actually appropriate that we're talking about it on tonight's show because it draws another parallel back about 18 years. Stop and consider that Saturday's race was the first win for a driver in Michael Annett, who has been knocked down, beat around, just the sport has basically chewed him up, spit him out 2 or 3 different times, and yet he's hung around, he's hung in, and just needed somebody to believe in him. And Dale Earnhardt Jr. took the chance. He believed in him. Even when the going got tough last year, he didn't give up on Michael Annett, and they stayed the course. And then all the pieces came together Saturday, and Michael Annett went to victory lane at the biggest facility on the circuit with an owner who believed in him enough and believed that he had the ability to give him a chance to prove it.
Well,
now,
you talked about that.
Yeah, and he did.
Parallel to Michael Waltrip's win.
And how not just interesting, but how perfect a parallel it is that we sat there on Saturday and sit here tonight talking about an Earnhardt who took a chance on a Michael that just wanted to prove himself and was 0 for 344 across NASCAR's top 3 series prior to Saturday, when 18 years earlier, an Earnhardt took a chance on a Michael who was 0 for 462 and won at Daytona in a very similar fashion. Of course, the tragic events of 2001 kind of overshadowed that at the time, but for me, just sitting here thinking about that parallel and going, my gosh, we're sitting here going through it again 18 years later, and I love it. quite frankly. I love that Dale Earnhardt Jr. kept faith in Michael Annett, and I love that Michael Annett was able to go out and prove, at least on this day, that he belonged to be there, and he belonged in victory lane.
And Randy, I think interesting for Annett, you change the number from 5 to 1.
Yeah, really.
You bring Travis Mack in,
which started midway through last year, by the way,
as your crew chief, but first time through at a Daytona Xfinity race, and all of a sudden he looks like a different driver. I mean, he didn't just luck into this. He held everybody back for the last 45 or 50 laps and looked great out there, honestly, Randy.
It's true. It's renewed focus. But, last year we sat here and every week it seemed like we talked about, what's the future of Michael Annett? He's not winning races. He's not performing. He's the lowest performing driver at Junior Motorsports. And then he caps it off with, starting 2019 with a win, and one of probably the biggest win of his life, or the only win he's had so far. But, I mean, the biggest win he's probably going to have in quite some time, unless he wins the championship. But now he's locked into the chase, and you've got to sit here and think, during the off season, you're making all those changes. Junior obviously, as Jacob said, believed enough in Michael Annett to go, all right, you know what, we're going to give you the absolute best equipment we can give you. We're going to give you the best crew chief, the best car, the best team, the best everything you can possibly have. Change your number, kind of repackage Michael Annett into almost a brand new driver. And he goes out and wins a race.
I like to think it's more like rebooting. They rebooted him.
Well, and not just they rebooted him. I feel like Michael Annett rebooted himself in a way, too, because he mentioned that, there's been a change in him, and Dale said he's seen it. Travis said he's seen it. Michael said probably the spark was going to Las Vegas last year, not in a position to be in the playoffs, and how devastating that was, and the vow he made before those last 7 races to make sure that never happened again. And at least this year he doesn't have to worry about that. He is locked into the playoffs for 2019. He will have a shot to deliver Junior Motorsports a championship, and that's a big statement for a driver that I honestly, and I'll be the first to eat some crow on this one, I honestly believe could have been out the door at Junior Motorsports at the end of last year. Well, look at the difference one race can make.
Yeah, what do we know? Michael Annett getting the win. Justin Allgaier finishing up in second. I don't think a big surprise there.
Justin said that he was thrilled for Michael. If he couldn't win, that was exactly who he wanted to win.
And, of course, Brandon Jones taking home third. A good run for him.
Great run for
JGR. But here's my story of the race, and it's really 2 parts. Finishing fourth, the 39 of Ryan Sieg. Finishing seventh, the 93 of Jeff Green. Team cars for Sieg Racing, and you've got a driver in Sieg who nobody ever talks about.
But he does a good job.
He just keeps trucking along.
Sure,
yeah,
he does.
And then you have Jeff Green,
56-year-old Jeff Green,
who probably needed oxygen after the race.
No, he was good. I talked to him. Yeah, he was good.
And Jeff bringing home a top 10 finish. Sieg Racing, who knew? I mean, that's a great story for those two guys.
It was
for that team.
Yeah, it was his first top 10 finish. The first top 10 finish for Jeff Green since 2017, and only his third top 10 finish since 2005.
Yeah.
Just to tell you how tough of a slog it's been the last couple of years. But to be clear, he's had at least one top 10 finish in 3 of the last 4 seasons. But this was his first top 10 driving for RSS Racing, and I think that's a big deal because Ryan Sieg has had Jeff Green in one of his cars for basically all of last year, and to see him go out and have a great run. It's his best finish in the Xfinity Series since a 7th place finish with Rick Ware Racing at Daytona in 2016. This is a big deal.
It is a big deal, and in between there, you had Austin Cindric in 5th, Chris Bell in 6th. Good run for those two, though I think probably both of them would tell you it wasn't where they would have liked to have finished.
Oh, no, and they were both frustrated with the way that race ended.
But let's also hit a couple of other stories here. First of all, you had Ross Chastain driving a team car, which he's going to do a few times this year, to Justin Haley in Colleague Racing. Now, Justin and Ross each won a segment to start off the race, and both in contention. Ross in contention till very late. I thought he did a fantastic job, and of course Jeffrey Earnhardt, I think, did himself proud as well.
My gosh, did he ever?
Starting, front row and running well throughout the event. It was neat to see Jeffrey get a shot like that, and again prove that we don't all know as much as we think we did, because Jeffrey certainly showed us that at least on a plate track he can contend.
Well, okay, so that goes to one of the big stories of the Xfinity Series all weekend long. Jeffrey Earnhardt not only leading 29 of the first 30 laps and getting passed by Justin Haley and Ross Chastain, that freight train coming to the green checkered flag in stage 1. But Jeffrey already had 9 races in the Joe Gibbs Racing 18 car this season. He has since picked up 5 more Xfinity races and 2 Cup races in the biggest announcement of all of Speed Weeks, as far as I'm concerned, with his sponsor actually starting a NASCAR Xfinity Series team. They will debut at Texas Motor Speedway coming up at the end of March and run both Talladega Cup races as well as 5 NASCAR Xfinity Series races this season, in addition to the 9 races he runs with JGR. That, to me, is a big deal. Landon Ash and Extreme Concepts coming in an ownership capacity, I think, is going to be really cool. They're going to have a direct technical alliance with Joe Gibbs Racing, and they want to be here full-time. Their goal is to build this team and make it a full-time team on the Cup Series level. Landon's motivated. I feel like he's doing it the right way, surrounding himself with great people, and I think it's going to be a great thing for Jeffrey Earnhardt.
Okay, so real quick here, before we cut out for the break, quick round the table, 10, 15, 20 seconds. Question from the chat, Jonathan Heitzman. So do you think all the full-time junior motorsports drivers will be in the playoffs this year? Jacob, yes or no?
Considering Michael Annette's already in, and I think the other 2 are easily going to win their way in, yes, absolutely, I do.
Randy?
Yeah, like he said, if Michael Annette can make it in, who says that Noah Gragson and obviously Justin Allgaier will make it in? So, yeah, I say yes.
3 yeses, and I do believe that you'll see the 8 car in victory lane before the year is out as well. Brett Guzik also pointing out that now 4 Earnhardts have led at Daytona, which is kind of interesting. So when you think about it, with that, we step aside. When we come back, more of the Stock Car Show. We talk trucks in our next segment. CJ Leary coming up, USAC Hot Shoe shortly as well. You're listening to and or watching the Stock Car Show presented by HMS Motorsport, the leaders in motorsport safety. We shall return.
You own a performance car and you know how to drive, but you want to learn real performance driving. Well, Bunky, get that car off the street and onto the track. Summit Point Motorsports Park, the Mid-Atlantic's premier road racing facility, located just over an hour from D.C. in nearby Summit Point, West Virginia, is the place to go. And you'll find that Friday at the Track is going to give you what you need. For less than a monthly car payment, you can attend this regularly scheduled one-day instructional event in your street car on one of Summit Point's 3 world-class road racing circuits. You'll receive classroom instruction, skid pad instruction in their cars, including front and rear skid control, and 4 20-minute in-your-car instructional sessions from a professional instructor. Have fun, go fast, and really learn how to drive. Call 304-725-8444 for class schedules and details. That's 304-725-8444. Friday at the Track at Summit Point Motorsports Park.
Is your job sucking the life out of you? Wake up. You can do something else. Information technology. I know what you're thinking, but I'm not a math and science person. No problem and no excuses, because it's not rocket science. It's My Computer Career. Go to mycomputercareer.edu and take the free career evaluation today. You can start your new life as an IT pro in as little as 4 months. mycomputercareer.edu. That's mycomputercareer.edu.
The Performance Motorsports Network is a compilation of shows about motorsports. From technical to controversial to just fun, everything you like about racing and gearhead stuff is right here on one internet channel. The Performance Motorsports Network. Tell your friends about it.
Hi, I'm Reed Sorensen. Racing has been a part of me and my family for as long as I can remember. I had to make tough choices early on to get to the top. It took hard work and dedication. But it's those tough choices that help me prepare for challenges I would face as a cup driver. Make the right choices today and be ready for the challenges tomorrow. This message is brought to you by the U.S. Air Force.
Hi, I'm Timmy Salmito, and you're listening to Race Talk on the Performance Motorsports Network. Now back to the show.
We're back. Second hour of the Stock Car Show commences to commence. And Tom Baker, Jacob Seelman, Randy Miller, and Chris Murdoch. And thanks to our friends at HMS Motorsport, the leaders of motorsport safety, for being a part of this show. And we talked in our chat, and we mentioned right at the last segment, Brett Guzik saying that 4 Earnhardts have led at Daytona, and then while we were on break, we
thought he was wrong
in the Facebook chat. Well, he led at Talladega, and then, as it turns out, Jacob.
Yeah, Brett thought he was wrong, and then he wasn't actually wrong.
He thought he was wrong, but he was wrong.
Yeah, he was wrong about being wrong. Kerry Earnhardt did, in fact, lead 1 lap in his NASCAR National Series career at Daytona International Speedway. The opening lap of the 2005 season at Daytona, driving for Billy Ballou with Richie Waters as his crew chief in the truck that later went to Kyle Busch Motorsports as the 51.
And with that, that brings us nicely into our analysis of the truck race on Friday.
It does. Nice.
Trivia question, Jacob. Without looking, can you name all the trucks that crashed out of Friday night's race? I didn't think so.
My response to that is it would be easier to tell you the trucks that finished.
Crashed out, yeah.
I can answer your question by telling you Austin Hill won.
Yeah. Yeah,
so at least one truck that did
let's be clear here. The Truck Series race was a mess. It was also entertaining as heck. And you know what? Somewhere, Shiggy Hattori, before he came into the media center last night, was standing outside looking at the top of the scoreboard going, I knew there was a reason I hired this kid.
I think you meant Friday night. But
Friday night, yeah, that night.
And it's
whatever night.
It's interesting when you think about this because you look at the offseason and we had so much going on with drivers going here and drivers going there, and no bigger a bombshell was there than the announcement that your defending champion, Brett Moffitt, is being punted out of the 16 truck and being replaced by Austin Hill. And this is not disrespect to Austin Hill. It's just when you're the defending champion, you don't really expect to hear thank you, have a nice day, goodbye. But the truth is that the dollars that Austin Hill brought were a little bigger than the dollars Brett Moffitt brought. So in comes Austin Hill, something like that. In comes Austin Hill, out goes Brett Moffitt, who then boots Johnny Sauter out of the GMS racing ride that he'd won championship with.
Yeah, and then Johnny Sauter subsequently boots Myatt Snyder out of the ThorSport racing ride that he won Rookie of the Year with.
And so out of all of that, the last thing that you figured was going to happen was that Austin Hill was going to go to Daytona and show everybody in the world, hey, you guys know absolutely nothing.
Well, listen.
Because I just beat Johnny, and I beat Brett, and I beat the rest of them too.
Hey, listen.
Good for you, Austin Hill.
I believe Austin and I are within about a month of being the same age. I've known Austin my entire.
You're making him old.
Ouch. Anyway,
let's look in the mirror, shall we?
I'm a relic. That's beside the point.
I've known Austin my entire media career, and going all the way back to the time that he and I were kids, and he was running in a Bandolero at the Summer Shootout.
Yeah,
that's a ways back. I've known Austin has talent. He just needs to get with the right people to show it. And I think Scott Zipadelli may just be the best thing that's ever happened to Austin Hill. Those two have clicked right away. And from the moment that truck set on top of the board in final practice for the truck race, which was held on Thursday, I walked down there. I said to Austin, "You feel pretty good right now, don't you?" He goes, "Well, it's either me or the truck, and I like to think it's a little bit of both."
Yeah.
To go out and do what he did Friday night not only is a massive confidence booster, it's validation that it wasn't just Brett Moffitt willing that team to a championship last year. It's validation that everything that Shiggy Hattori has built since he came into NASCAR years ago is finally paying dividends and is finally reaching a level that it can take a talented driver. I'm not specifying anybody here, but take a talented driver, go out and win races.
Well,
I don't believe this is just a plate track thing. I believe they will continue to show speed.
I think they will as well. And Randy, I think that every once in a while you get a team that just has a run that is unexplainable, and it's also at least partially unstoppable. And Brett Guzik in our chat pointing out that team is still on an amazing roll. It is one of these rolls, Randy, where they just can't do anything wrong right now.
That's right.
That's very true. And it's kind of unfair to Austin Hill because people are going to think, oh, well, it's the team, it's the truck, it's the the crew, it's the whoever instead of being the driver. And that's an unfair thing to say because, yes, it's Daytona. Anything can happen. There are a lot of trucks that wreck. There's a lot of things that I don't want to say gave Austin Hill the win. He obviously deserved it, and he earned it.
Even before the big one, Randy,
right,
he was out front.
Right. People are going to talk for months and months and months unless he wins 5, 6, 7, 8 races. And, even then they're probably going to say, oh, well, it's still, the truck. Because people have such a mirror image of what they see, and they see that's the truck that won the championship with.
Right.
It doesn't matter who you put in. You can put, Joey Logano in the truck, and people are still going, oh, it's the truck, it's the team that won. But people need to give Austin Hill more credit than that because obviously, as much adversity as he went through, getting that ride, he's proving to himself, and everybody that loves NASCAR that he's not just another driver on the block. He's just as good as some of these other guys are.
Well, and we're going to be looking for him right up in the front of the field again this weekend in Atlanta.
Absolutely. By the way, it's his home track too.
Yes, well, and
from nearby Winston, Georgia.
A good incentive, obviously, to perform well.
You better believe
when you go to your home track off a win at Daytona. He has the momentum right now, and I think that's really where where we're going to see him go out and be very relaxed and very energetic over the weekend because he's going to have a little extra skip in his step because he just won the biggest race that you can win in the Truck Series. And when you look at that race, obviously everybody's going to remember the wrecks and the fact that it was a 9-car race, but there, again, some real performances in this race. Austin Hill getting credit for the win, of course, but I don't think you can count out Grant Enfinger in second. And I think Ross Chastain and Spencer Boyd finishing third and fourth deserve a whole bunch of credit because, yes, the wrecks helped them move up, but both of them were fast during the race and survived to finish in the top 5. I thought each did a great job with teams that aren't supposed to be up there.
Excuse me? The Nice Motorsports would slap you. They've been up there.
That's not typical for Nice Motorsports.
They finished top
on the
10
podium.
On the podium, maybe not. Podium. They've been top 5 and top 10 a couple of times.
On the podium. It's not typical for Nice Motorsports.
So
their connection to GMS helps.
Oh, yes, it does. I think that was proof that their alliance with GMS is already paying dividends. Yes. Now, please hold for a second while I offer my Gold Star Award for Speed Weeks, because I have one driver who absolutely had the Speed Weeks of his life. He was in 4 races during Daytona Speed Weeks. I don't think there was a nick on any of his 3 race vehicles. 3rd in the truck race Friday night. A stage win, and if not for single file, should have been easily a top 10 or top 5 in the Xfinity race on Saturday. 15th was not indicative of how he ran all day. And a top 10 in the Daytona 500. Ross Chastain gets my overachiever, hard worker, stay out of trouble, whatever you want to call it, award. He did everything right. He did not cost any of his 3 team owners a dime this weekend, and he rolled 3 spotless race cars back into the trailer over 4 days. How many times can you say you've been to Daytona as a driver, run in 4 straight races, and not torn something up? That is unheard of.
0, because I've never driven at Daytona.
Okay,
Randy.
not you. It was a rhetorical question. Come on now.
What do
You
you
should
say,
have played
Randy?
the lottery right after that. If it was
Ross,
his own
hey,
car.
maybe Ross should play the lottery.
He should. He was one of the only drivers that didn't have anything on their car when they left Daytona.
Yes,
so.
he was one of only 9 trucks that finished the Xfinity race, and Xfinity race, the truck race. Sorry, my brain's tired. I'm sorry, guys. One of 9 trucks to finish that race Friday night, and he was one of only 3 cars in the Daytona 500 to not be involved in some sort of incident somewhere along the way, aside from the 11 and the 8.
A little bit of luck plays into that.
Oh, a little bit of luck played into that, yeah.
Yeah, but there's drivers that have ran Daytona for 20 years and have never not been in an accident.
Yeah,
correct.
And you've got Ross Chastain, who was in 3 races.
I just wanted to give Ross some props, major props on a job well done during Speed Week. Spencer Boyd as well, 4th for Young's Motorsports was huge for him. The guy who has not gotten credit, who God bless him had the run of his life in 6th, was Josh Rayum, who gets out of his truck, looks at me, and goes, I get to talk to somebody? he thought that was the coolest thing ever, and I thought it was great. That's a family team, Rayum Brothers Racing, so for him to get a great run of it. Nice Motorsports had a great run all the way around. 3rd with Chastain and 7th for Timothy Peters. Angela Roosh in 8th. 2nd best finish by a female in the history of the Truck Series, behind only Jennifer Jo Cobb.
She did a nice job.
She did a nice job. Her biggest frustration during the race was, as she explained to us afterwards, that she didn't know how to fuel save.
Yeah, that's an interesting. We skipped Matt Crafton in 5th.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to skip Matt.
Well, don't skip Matt Crafton. This is the best run he's had in a year.
Yeah, he's a 2-time champ. Sorry, I didn't mean to.
And then Austin Self and Stuart Friesen rounding out the top 10.
And Friesen was out of the race in 10th.
Yeah, 9 trucks finishing that one. Clay Greenfield showing well earlier in the race and ended up in
he
an
always
accident.
shows well at Daytona.
And Bobby Gerhart had a really nice run, I thought.
Was running 4th on the second to last restart. Yeah, 8-time ARCA winner.
Yeah, so a very interesting. I thought, despite all the crashes, I thought the truck race was an interesting race.
Hey, and guess what? None of the 3 races this weekend ended under caution.
Thank God for small favors.
Sorry, I just wanted to throw that out there.
Because I hate that. When that happens, the race just gets permanently suspended. But certainly a fantastic truck race, and congratulations again to a very happy and deserving winner of that one. When we come back, we are going to chat with CJ Leary as we break temporarily from the coverage of Daytona and Speed Weeks. I guess this is still part of Speed Weeks because he won at Bubba Raceway Park down there in Florida. Jacob was there, Jacob and CJ, and we'll all talk to him in just a moment. Back with more of the Stock Car Show right after this.
How to be a great dad in 15 seconds. Bike ride, go fish, walk in the park, phone call, milkshake, play catch, picnic, fly a kite, tell jokes, laugh, talk, read a story, tell a story, bumper car, swing set, bowling, pillow fight, cut loose, stay tight. Whew. Because the smallest moments can have the biggest impact on a child's life. Take time to be a dad today. Call 877-4DAD-411 or visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Automotive technicians and auto service trainees, how would you like to work at the beach and perform for one of the best car care centers in the nation? Lewis Meineke is now looking for skilled automotive technicians to join their award-winning team. If you're a gearhead that knows his or her stuff, or a young up-and-comer that has the motivation and drive to succeed, then you need to make this call today. 302-827-2054. Lewis Meineke Car Care Center, located in beautiful Lewis, Delaware, offers a highly competitive compensation plan, great benefits, a flexible schedule, and did we mention that you're going to be working at the beach? Plus, there's a signing bonus for the right candidates. Technicians must be ASE certified and have a minimum of 6 years experience. Beginners advance at your own pace in one of several entry-level positions. But whatever you do, don't wait. These jobs will go fast. Call Tim at 302-827-2054. That's 302-827-2054. Lewis Meineke Car Care Center. Rev up your career.
You hear that? That's the sound of America's only sports car. That's right. It's a Corvette. But not just any Corvette. It's your Corvette. It's that who cares if there's traffic part of your day. And this can be you when you come to Cooper Corvettes. With 60 years of Corvettes to choose from, there's always a Corvette in your budget. And they'll service any Corvette you bring in. Cooper Corvettes on Route 1 just north of Quantico and Triangle. Call, click, or visit CooperCorvettes.com.
How to deal with someone who says that's so gay. Outsmart them.
This party is like so gay. Totally.
Excuse me, but did you ladies know the word gay used to mean happy or excited? Then it became a word used to describe gay people. Then somehow it came to mean dumb or stupid, which is how you just used it, which is not very nice.
Ew, that guy is on the football team and super smart, and he totally hates us now. Totally.
When you say that's so gay, do you realize what you say? Knock it off. Learn more at thinkbeforeyouspeak.com.
Hey, this is Garrett Smithley, driver of the number nothing Chevrolet for JD Motorsports, and you're listening to Race Talk on the Performance Motorsports Network.
Welcome back to the Stock Car Show, presented by HMS Motorsport, the leaders in motorsport safety, and also by My Computer Career Training for a Better Life. And speaking of better lives, C.J. Leary's life got better on Saturday night after he went to Bubba Raceway Park his first weekend with a brand new team and went out and picked up the checkered flag. And now he is on the Race Chaser Hotline. We welcome him to the Stock Car Show. I know that sounds like sort of an oxymoron, but we just break for a little bit to talk open wheel every now and then on this show, and we love it when we can. CJ, welcome to the program, and congratulations on a big win. That must have felt extra good, being as it was a brand new team fresh out of the box for you.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Thanks for having me on. We had high expectations when me and Andy put this team together about 2 months ago, and me and Davey Jones, we spent a lot of hours out 2 weeks ago before we came down for the Winter Dirt Games on building that car. Everything came together like last minute. So to go down to Florida and kick off the season off with a 6th, a 2nd, a W, it's pretty special.
So I didn't actually get a chance to ask you this on Saturday night, CJ, and it's one of those things that kind of popped in my head after the fact. How big a factor for you has it been in getting acclimated with Andy Reinbold and this whole 19AZ team to have been able to bring Davey with you from what was your family car last year over now to this new situation and basically just keep right on clicking?
Well, I think it's really cool because obviously Davey was with me half the season last year on my family 30 car, and Andy's deal is not a whole lot different. It's a family operated base team, and I love that. He brings his wife and his kids to the racetrack, and he's there to have a good time and win races. And I felt like to come out of the gate kind of swinging, it really gave Andy a good sense of feeling that he picked the right two guys to start a championship winning team with.
I know it's not, 90-something races like what we see with the World of Outlaws, but is there still a lot to be said even for the USAC National Sprint Car Series with the driver-crew chief relationship and really specifically the relationship that you and Davey have built here over the past 6-8 months?
Yeah, I mean, driver-crew chief is huge. Whenever you can bring someone in that you have a lot of fun with on and off the racetrack, I definitely think it helps the driver's confidence, and whenever we can come in off the racetrack, we can just kind of give each other that look, and we both know what we're wanting. I think that's huge, so we don't have to kind of fight each other on what we want to do with the race car, and our shock package is the same. And we just, like I said, we click so well together. I think that's part of our success. And he's been around a long time. He's been with a lot of big operations, and I think that's helped also give me some advice on what I should do with certain things. So, like I said, he's a big part of my team.
Talk a little bit about racing at Bubba, and especially this Winter Dirt X Games situation, because, of course, part of Florida Speed Weeks, and, if you can't find something as a race fan in that area that you like to watch, then I don't know what you're looking for, but you got about everything there but Formula One. What's it like to be down in Florida this time of the year and racing at Bubba Raceway Park?
I think it would be really cool from a fan's standpoint. You can be at Daytona during the day at the big track, and then at night you can choose from either Volusia or Ocala there at Bubba's, or East Bay on the other side of the state, and you can watch pretty much, like you said, anything you want. And hats off to Bubba for having the midgets down this year and putting on some good racing all across the board, whether it was wing sprint cars, midgets, late models, and obviously the non-wing sprint cars. He gave us a pretty good track every night, but like I said, it's huge for us racers to get to come down there and compete in Sunshine State, like you said, during Speed Week. So
yep,
just blessed to be able to get to do that.
I know it's two different race cars, but you've done the Winter Dirt Games before down in Ocala. Did you feel like having the extra track time, the extra weekend with the midget, was a help at all when you got into the 3 days of racing with the sprint car, that you already at least had a little bit of an idea what the track was going to do?
Definitely. Getting that extra bit of laps, this was, I think, my 6th or 7th year running at Bubba's with the sprint car, but getting those extra laps the week before, and we even got to hot lap the sprint car with the midgets that Thursday night, and I think that helped me get a mindset on what we need to do to the sprint car for this following week. Just gave us an idea, some food for thought, and we made some adjustments that week while I was racing the midget. Just to kind of, I don't know, just process the new car and the new team, the new engine package, just trying to get acclimated with everything, because it was quite a bit different than what I was running last year with my own team. But Andy Reinbold, he let us build a top-notch race car. Everything on that's either carbon fiber, titanium. It's super lightweight, and the motor ran great all weekend. So I can't say enough for him for letting me and him build a car like that.
So I've heard a lot of drivers mention over the years that the Florida swing really doesn't have a lot of bearing on what you guys do when you get into the stretch run of the season. How unique is the track and racing at Bubba Raceway Park compared to what you guys are more used to when you get into the meat of the schedule up in the Midwest?
Everybody always says when you go to Florida, you forget it at the St. Line on the way home, whatever you learn. But the racetrack this year, I think it was relatively slicker than it had been in years past. I heard a lot of guys was chasing just being loose or free all night. And, we were working with a new package, so we really didn't know where our baseline was. So I'm excited to get started here in Indiana and kind of get a feel for what this car is going to be like on our standard racetrack. But alongside of the standing go, with USAC now, everybody's so close. The points get so close. Last year it came down to right there at the last race. So when you get behind in the points, it's just so hard to overcome that. So I think being right there, we're the point leader, but obviously it's a long season. But I think having that point lead is key.
Yeah, and to get the point lead, obviously the win Saturday night kind of pushed that over the top for the 3 races. Take us back to that pass for the lead there about midway through the feature Saturday night, because racing Robert Ballou, I know, is an art form that you kind of have to pick your battles, and you picked a really good battle to go out there. Just made a power move to get the job done. Were there any nerves, or had you shaken all that off at that point?
I was a little nervous starting next to Robert there on the front row more than anything. me and him had a really dedicated battle on the first night, and I don't think neither one of us was too happy with each other after the race was over. But you just got to take Robert with a grain of salt, and just kind of got to go race by race. I mean, we have to race each other 50, 60 times a year, and at the end of the day, you're going to run into each other at some point again. So, I mean, I just don't want to hear it when I run into him. But anyway, that pass for the lead, it was super clean as textbook, and we just drove off. I knew we had a better race car there once the racetrack came to us. But like I said, it was our night. It was. I felt like I gave one away on the second night when it took rubber and we got into lap traffic. I felt like that was all me, but to come back the third night and cap it off with a win, that was really special.
You talked about it a bit with me on Saturday night. What kind of a statement is this, that not only does this team come out and get a win in Florida, but you come to Indiana, your home state, with the championship lead?
I think it's huge for Andy. You know, this is his first year on the tour with the USAC National Sprint Cars. To go to Florida and kick it off with a good weekend like we did, I think that's saying something for the state of Arizona. Like I said, this is his first year, and to go down there and win, and like I said, he picked two good guys that have had experience down there, and we just need some more laps with this new race car, and I think that'll really determine on how the rest of our season goes. But our confidence is high, and we just want to go racing. So Andy's going to fly us out for the race at Casa Grande in Arizona on the 2nd, March 2nd there. So we'll get some more racing in. So I'm really excited about that.
So we've got just a couple minutes left in this segment, but I want to ask your perspective, and if you can speak on it a little bit. But what was the spark that got all this together and got Andy convinced that now was the right time to make a stab at the national tour?
You know, it was honestly it was a little different. I was actually sitting on the beach in Ventura waiting to run Turkey Night after the ovals, and a buddy of mine, Jeff, had called me and said that Andy might be interested in running the full schedule next year, and I ought to call him. And you know, I really didn't know if I was interested because I didn't know what Andy's deal was, and I knew what my own deal was with my family, and so I called him up and see what he was wanting to do, and you know, everything just clicked. You know, I have a shop here in Indy, and I can take care of everything here, and everything just fell in place. It really did, and like I said, I can't thank him enough for what he's done for me and my family. So just really hoping to put the championship together for him. I know he's really wanting one, and I've been trying for 7 years now, so this would be really cool for us.
Well, let's hope that that's the result, CJ, and we would look forward to chatting with you again as you get a little further into your season. We wish you the best, and we appreciate you taking a few minutes out of your evening to chat with us here on the Stock Car Show.
Like I said, thanks, guys, for having me on here. It's been a pleasure.
That is CJ Leary, and you're listening to Race Chaser Radio and the Stock Car Show, presented by HMS Motorsport, the leaders in motorsport safety. You can find them on the web at hmsmotorsport.com. We'll be right back with more from Daytona right after these words.
Parents, your son or daughter has had their license for a while now, but you want to make sure they're prepared for any situation they may face on the road. High school driver's ed doesn't teach them to drive defensively. They need to be prepared for any highway emergency. For less than a month's insurance, and a whole lot less, BSR instructors at Summit Point Motorsports Park in nearby Summit Point, West Virginia, will teach your son or daughter how to respond instantly and positively to unexpected situations on the road. BSR's specialized accident avoidance training teaches swerve to avoid maneuvers at highway speed, ocular driving, which focuses driving attention on ways to avoid accidents, vehicle dynamics and feedback, skid control and skid recovery, threshold braking on straights and progressive braking on curves, and off-road recovery techniques. This is stuff driver's ed simply doesn't teach. So call BSR today, 304-725-8444. Give your kid the skill set needed to drive safely and responsibly on the highway. That's 304-725-8444.
You hear that? That's the sound of America's only sports car. That's right, it's a Corvette. But not just any Corvette. It's your Corvette. It's that who cares if there's traffic part of your day. And this can be you when you come to Cooper Corvettes. With 60 years of Corvettes to choose from, there's always a Corvette in your budget. And they'll service any Corvette you bring in. Cooper Corvettes on Route 1 just north of Quantico and Triangle. Call, click, or visit CooperCorvettes.com.
HMS Motorsport is the leader in motorsport safety. HMS serves the majority of Monster Energy NASCAR Cup, Xfinity, Camping World Truck, IndyCar, and IMSA WeatherTech teams, as well as countless SCCA and club-level racers and driving enthusiasts throughout North America. Featuring world-renowned brands like Schuberth helmets, Schroep belts, Adidas suits and shoes, Lifeline fire systems, and even Racecom radio kits, HMS has the right product for your type of racing and your budget. Their representatives are experts on only one thing, making your track driving as safe as possible. With locations in Mooresville, North Carolina, and Danvers, Massachusetts, the HMS staff is always ready to take the time to help you find the right product for your safety needs. Don't settle for second when it comes to motorsport safety. Stop in to HMS Motorsport. Visit them on their website at hmsmotorsport.com or send them a message on Facebook and tell them the folks from PMN Radio sent you.
Hi, this is John Andrasik of Five for Fighting, here for RAD, the entertainment industry's voice for road safety. You know, style is a personal thing, and your lifestyle is your business. But if you take it on the road, it becomes everybody's business. So please, plan ahead, designate before you celebrate. Friends, don't let friends drive drunk.
A public service announcement brought to you by RAD, the National Association of Broadcasters, and the Ad Council.
Hi, I'm Cole Custer, and you're listening to the Performance Motorsports Network, the voice of motorsports.
And welcome back to the Stock Car Show. And hey, for those of you who may be looking for a career change or something different to do, I will throw an interesting stat out there for you. There are right now over 2 million cybersecurity jobs unfilled in this country, and so a good opportunity presents itself from mycomputercareer.edu. My Computer Career can teach you and prepare you to become an IT professional in as little as 4 months. 2 to 3 times a week, either at one of their 7 campuses, or you can do it online, mycomputercareer.edu. Just go take the free career evaluation. You could be working in one of those cybersecurity jobs in as little as 4 months. My Computer Career works with employers. They also have financial aid available, including the GI Bill for those who are eligible. So easy way to get involved here and make a big change in your life. It's not rocket science. It's My Computer Career. Just go to mycomputercareer.edu and take the free career evaluation test and see if you want to pursue a career in IT and possibly fill one of the many vacant jobs that we have in that field. And we continue with the show, and we go back to Daytona because we've got a few leftovers here, I feel like, from the 500 to talk about here, guys. And one of them, somebody actually mentioned in our chat, David Molding, keeping an eye on our show on Facebook Live tonight, and says, hey, let's hear about Priest. Well, you know what? Doggone it, Ryan Priest deserves some props, because I'm going to tell you, that young racer in his first race with JTG Doherty,
first Cup race, period.
Yes, but brand new team, brand new series. He goes out, and you know the old phrase, he hit everything but the pace car. Ryan Priest didn't hit a doggone thing.
No, he didn't.
I mean, all these cars around him crashing, and everything, he somehow missed them all.
I felt like Ryan had a halo around his car, or a bubble that just prevented him from getting hit by anything all race long. And I'll tell you what, the move he made to fire through the apron at about 160 miles an hour during the first big one and not get collected was, he looked at me after the race with eyes wide when I brought it up. He said, I basically just pointed the wheels straight and hoped.
Yeah.
And it worked out. I mean, he avoided 2 wrecks by the skin of his teeth.
That's one of those where your spotter just goes, good luck.
Pretty much. But, you know, what for me, 8th doesn't even belie how close Ryan Preece was. He was 3rd on the last lap of the Daytona 500.
Yep.
And if, you know, as he mentioned after the race, he said, I was really kicking myself because if I had not stayed so committed to Joey and focused on where there were a couple runs coming from, I really think I could have won the Daytona 500. And that was striking for me, just that he already knew from watching the replay on the big screen once or twice, you know, started to see some of the things he could have done better. But quickly, he was very quick to reference the fact that this, you know, remember where he came from. He said it to Steve Post of MRN Radio. This one's for the grassroots racers. This one is for everybody who doesn't believe that their dream can come true. It can. I'm proof our dreams started to come true today.
Yeah, well, and he's going to bear watching. He and Chris Buescher both as we go forward into Atlanta with this new package. I think that team's going to bear watching. Now, I want to reset the table here a little bit. Just so that we can kind of hit some of these other drivers that are worth some discussion. We talked about the JGR top 3. Denny Hamlin, Kyle Busch, Eric Jones. Joey Logano, we talked about finishing 4th.
Can I just mention Eric Jones's rally from the fuel pressure, fuel pump, whatever that was, that put him back a lap or two in the final laps? That rally, like I said it, where did he come from? Literally, you watch him, he looks like he shot out of a cannon coming off turn 4 to the line. That run was impressive. I just wanted to reference that he was down and out, you know, with 25 to go, and there he was.
As if divine intervention. Michael McDowell finishing in 5th. We talked about him earlier. Ty Dillon. Here's a guy I had watched him in an interview. I think it was on Friday somewhere. I saw an interview with Ty where he said that he felt like in the race that this was going to be an opportunity for him to get up and contend for the win. Finished 6th. I mean, again, Ty he did a nice job during the race, kept himself fairly clean, and had a nice run. Another team I'm going to keep my eye on as we go into Atlanta this weekend. Kyle Larson finishing up in 7th, Preece finishing 8th, Jimmy Johnson 9th, and as Jacob alluded to earlier, here's Ross Chastain in the Premium Motorsports number 15, finishing up in 10th, and a driver that I thought was going to have a good shot at a much better finish. Alex Bowman only ends up 11th,
that's because he was involved in 2 of the 3 big ones.
Which again doesn't show. We talked about William Byron a little earlier, but I thought Bowman was easily as impressive as was Jimmy Johnson for most of the race.
Absolutely.
And I want to throw in a mention here.
Oh boy.
You know, Corey LaJoie has the I'm going to use the Greek word hubris to put his face on the hood of the car.
And it wasn't his idea.
And then proceeds to, well, he had to approve it, and then proceeds to go out and get into a crash and just a flurry of face jokes resulting from this.
I don't think it was even a crash. I think he blew a right front tire that ripped it apart.
Yeah. You know, talking about that'll leave a scar, that'll leave a bruise. You
shaved the right side.
Shaved the right side. Yeah, there were all kinds of. I thought that was really. Thought that was really fun, and it was a great promotion. Whoever thought of it? Of course, we kid with Corey.
Old Spice came up with that.
Okay, so Old Spice. I don't know that it's going to be that way all year.
No. That was just the Daytona 500 thing. Corey said he absolutely would not approve it for the entire year because he couldn't look at himself that much.
Yeah, exactly. He definitely, as Brett Guzik says, LaJoie finished in top 20 with half a face.
Yeah. Well, let's be clear. Parker Kligerman finished 15th after getting hit by everything but the pace car.
Oh, I know. There's another driver who, you know what?
God bless him. And he's running the first 3 races. He'll run Atlanta and Vegas for Marty Gaunt, by the way.
Yes. And I think that's great. Parker adds some energy to any race that he's in.
As did Brendan Gaughan on Sunday.
Yes. And you know what? Let's go back just for a minute and talk about that duel between Brendan Gaughan and Joey Gase in
My
the duel for the
God.
transfer spot all by themselves on the track, side by side for what?
15 laps.
Was it 15? Was that many laps?
Oh, my gosh.
They were side by side for a good bit of that race, and it was just a joy to watch.
It was. That was two drivers who wanted nothing more than to make the Daytona 500 and was willing to do whatever it took to put on not just a show for the fans, but to make the Daytona 500.
Well, and it was neat to see two cars
side by side for that long.
being able to run side by side. I mean,
if we had wrecked any more trucks, I think that would have been what you'd seen in the if we'd had another overtime attempt.
Yeah, probably. But certainly a great run for both of those guys in that duel in a spirited battle. And that's to me, what racing's all about. It's fun to see that now and again. You know, when you go through a race like that, you're all watching the hot dogs, but it's the guys in the middle and the guys in the back that are scrambling just to get in the race that really make the duels what they are.
Yes, and then to go back to Sunday, guys who overachieved in not junk, but junk as in wrecked race cars. Kyle Larson finished 7th with a car that looked like it had been through the trenches and got taken out by his dirt buddy, Ricky Stenhouse. Sorry, Ricky. You screwed up again.
Well, and despite that, he finished 13th.
Ricky?
Ricky.
Yeah. Kyle finished 7th, and Kyle said afterwards, I have no idea how we finished 7th.
I will throw another name into this who didn't finish well just because of circumstance.
But I had another one who did finish well.
Well, we'll get to that.
Okay.
I want to throw in Ryan Newman in the Wienermobile. Because all week long, that car was pretty fast.
It was.
I mean, that was kind of fun to see, actually.
Did he finish 14th?
He finished, where was he? 14th? Yeah, he did finish 14th.
He wasn't terrible. He was right there with Ricky at the end.
Yep. Just ahead of Austin Dillon.
Yeah, and then the other guy who got an inexplicable top 10 with an absolutely destroyed race car. I still don't even know how they fueled the dang thing. Jimmy Johnson, after being involved in the most bizarre crash I've ever seen in my life, at Daytona International Speedway.
Cody Ware needed GoBowling.com as a sponsor because he hit every pin on that alley. He got out of shape, and literally there were 5 cars there. He bowled through every one of them. It was unbelievable.
Yeah, it started with his teammate, by the way, BJ McLeod, and it ended with Tyler Reddick ramping over Jimmy Johnson's left rear quarter panel, ripping Jimmy Johnson's left rear quarter panel clean off, and leaving the fuel nozzle like
just hanging out there. But it was just amazing to watch Cody. He hit every car in that group.
By the way, the improper fueling penalty that Jimmy Johnson got put him 2 laps down. He made up 2 laps and still finished 9th. So bravo 7-time. You know what? It wasn't the way he wanted to get a good start to Speed Weeks, but I feel like this is some momentum for Jimmy Johnson going to one of his best racetracks. And I feel like had it not been for that damage, he and his teammate William Byron were in position to challenge for the win in that Daytona 500, and that's a big statement because it's something that we've not said in quite a while. By the way, I made the boingy noise, and I just want to say, Kyle Busch, I may not always agree with everything you do or everything you say, but dude, your sound effects in the Sunday night post-race press conference were absolutely on point. Bravo, sir. Bravo.
And with that, we step aside to let you all research that on the internet.
Oh, please, it's great.
When we come back, we will have our lightning round, and this should be some fun. We'll be back with more of the Stock Car Show presented by HMS Motorsport, the leaders in motorsport safety. Find them on the web at hmsmotorsport.com. Back in a minute.
When do you think of a plumber? Like most people, even if it's an emergency, you can be confident about who will arrive to help you. For quality and reliability, count on someone you can trust. Call on the plumbing services of Hague Quality Water of Maryland. Plumbing doesn't have to be an emergency. We handle all kinds of preventative maintenance too. Hague Quality Water of Maryland is family owned here in Annapolis since 1993. For a refreshing choice, call us at 888-84-WATER or visit us online.
Here at Lewis Meineke, we're more than just your average car care center. Hey, it's Dave, your neighbor from Lewis Meineke. Whether you need an oil change, brakes, tires, or anything under the hood, we've got you covered. Take advantage of our free check engine light service as well. Yes, free. And don't forget about our free shuttle service. Never stress, we'll take care of the rest. On with life. Give us a call at Lewis Meineke, 302-827-2054.
Is your job sucking the life out of you? Wake up. You can do something else. Information technology. I know what you're thinking, but I'm not a math and science person. No problem and no excuses, because it's not rocket science. It's My Computer Career. Go to mycomputercareer.edu and take the free career evaluation today. You can start your new life as an IT pro in as little as 4 months. mycomputercareer.edu. That's mycomputercareer.edu.
Do you love the sound of high-revving motors and the smell of burning rubber? Do you want to get your car sideways right at the ragged edge of control? If you've always wanted to try drifting or learn to improve your drifting skills, Summit Point Motorsports Park, the Mid-Atlantic's premier motorsports facility, has the expert instructors and the specialized track to teach you how to drift and the skills necessary to drift competitively. From skid pad to open sessions, Summit Point Motorsports Park has the safe and open environment that allows drifters of all skill levels, new to intermediate, to get sideways and smoking. With a focus on safety and the skill set necessary to drift competitively, Summit Point Motorsports Park's Drift Nirvana is just the thing for you. Call for your reservation today, 304-725-8444. Or for more information, go online, summitpoint-raceway.com, or you can email them at office@bsrinc.com. Drift Nirvana, getting you sideways the right way.
If you own a gun, you have a full-time responsibility. When you aren't using it, be sure it can't get into the hands of curious children, troubled teenagers, a thief, or anyone else who might misuse it. Your family, friends, and neighbors are all counting on you. Remember, always, lock it up. For more information on firearm storage safety, visit ncpc.org. This message brought to you by the National Crime Prevention Council, the Bureau of Justice Assistance, and the Ad Council.
I'm Kaz Gralla, and you're listening to Race Talk on the Performance Motorsports Network.
Hello again, one more time, as we hit our white flag segment, otherwise known as the lightning round here on the Stock Car Show. Tom Baker, Jacob Seelman, and behind the glass we have Chris Murdoch and Randy Miller, and want to take a moment to thank Kyle Souza, who jumped on with us in the beginning of the show to help us talk Daytona. We appreciate Kyle being on, and also CJ Leary from the USAC Sprint Division, who was on with us just a few minutes ago. Okay, guys, so lightning round. I'm going to take a minute here. Instead of going backwards, I want to look forward.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
As we start our lightning round, here's what I want to do. I want to start this. First of all, we're going to pick each division for Atlanta. But I want to talk about who's going to, first of all, who's going to be the biggest surprise in the Cup race at Atlanta. Jacob.
The same guy who was the biggest surprise in the Daytona 500, Matt DiBenedetto.
Okay, so you're thinking that even with...
It's not a fluke.
Without the plate, Matt DiBenedetto contends. Randy
Absolutely.
Miller?
Darn you, Jacob.
He just likes saying DiBurrito.
I do. But he's also a friend of mine. I'm going to go with Ryan Preece because, he's another guy that finished really high at Daytona. I think he's on a roll right now, so I'll pick Ryan Preece.
Okay. My first instinct when I thought about this question was actually to say Jimmy Johnson.
Oh my God!
And not because it's unusual for Jimmy to be strong in Atlanta, but because he's just had such a horrible time of it for the last year and a half. That him coming back and running well, but I do feel like, as you said in the last segment, Jacob, I feel like Jimmy Johnson and Kevin Meendering bonded during this Daytona Speed Week, and I think they're both renewed here. I think both Jimmy and William Byron have benefited greatly from that crew chief change that sent Checkenhouse over to the 24 car. So I'm going to go with Jimmy Johnson as my big surprise to break out in Atlanta. Okay, now we go first to the Truck Series at Atlanta. And that race, actually, I think it's the second race on Saturday.
Yes, it is.
They're doing it in reverse order for some strange reason.
Well, no, they've always done that.
Why?
because trucks ending under the lights is just better.
Okay. So who wins the truck race in Atlanta? Jacob Seelman?
Wow. Todd Gilliland. Because he was going to win. He was going to win at the last mile and a half, or that wasn't Homestead last year, and I think he gets the job done. I say Todd Gilliland.
I think Todd Gilliland has been going to win.
He's due.
About 8 times now, and he just hasn't yet.
It's not his fault.
I didn't say it was. I feel bad for him. Randy, are you going to support Todd Gilliland, or are you going with someone else?
Well, I'm going to support Todd Gilliland, but I'm not picking him.
Not enough to pick him.
I think the 16 is going to keep going. I'm going to say Austin Hill is going to win 2 in a row.
Oh, okay.
I will say Hattori's the defending winner of the Atlanta truck race.
Brett Guzik says Ben Rhodes in our chat is going to win the truck race. It wouldn't surprise me, but I'm actually going with Todd Gilliland's teammate, Harrison
Burton. Okay.
Yep, Harrison Burton going to get the win in the truck race. And it wouldn't surprise me if he and Todd were dueling right down to the wire. I think that's going to be an interesting battle to watch all year between those two because they always end up around each other. They have since K&N. Okay, moving on to the Xfinity race. Randy Miller, I'll start with you this time. Who wins the Xfinity race in Atlanta? Kevin Harvick is not entered.
No.
Thank God.
So you can take the field.
Right.
Yes.
He got
But you got to pick one.
He got a stage win at Daytona, so I'm picking Justin Haley.
Ooh.
Oh.
Wow, okay. That's an interesting.
That's a big.
Paulik looked fast at Daytona. So,
Look, Randy's the same guy who picked Matt Benedetto.
And he was
close.
that
and
close.
was this close.
You're
and
not.
So, Paul Menard.
I'm not gonna disrespect Randy's picks anymore.
Nope.
Jacob.
Just bear with me for 2 seconds.
Oh, Jacob's going to go to stats here.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not going to stats. I'm not going to stats.
I don't need the entry list. I know who I'm picking.
I needed to look at the preliminary entry list to make sure of who all's here. And
Chris is taking my pick from Daytona, Christopher Bell.
Yeah, Chris Bell, and he's got Alfredo, Anthony Alfredo in the truck race. Okay,
hey.
That's like a 10-mile limb there. His first ever truck race. I believe in Anthony.
It's like Michael Annett winning the Xfinity. Oh wait,
no, he's been around for many years.
So I'm gonna go with a bit of an interesting pick here. It's not the driver who won on the most recent traditional mile-and-a-half track and the sister track to Atlanta Motor Speedway. It's actually his teammate. I'll take Chase Briscoe to win the Xfinity race.
Yeah, because he studied game film from Kevin Harvick's domination last year.
No. His teammate that won on the sister track to Atlanta is not Kevin Harvick. It's Cole Custer.
Well,
who did
I was
so
just saying that.
But yes, Chase Briscoe studied game film from Kevin Harvick, and Chase Briscoe is going to use it to win on Saturday.
Brett Guzik says Christopher Bell, 1 millimeter limb. He's about right. I'm not picking any of those, actually, but I am
Ryan
going
Preece.
with. No, I'm actually. Is Ryan Preece in
Ryan Preece is in the 8.
Oh, I didn't know that. Well, I'm still not picking Ryan Preece as much as I'd love to see him win. I'm actually picking his teammate then.
Noah Gragson.
Noah Gragson gets his first Xfinity Series
and
win.
And JRM goes 2 in a row,
and
according
JRM
to you, to start the season.
In a row.
So here's my 2 cents on somebody to watch during Saturday's Xfinity race at Atlanta. Keep a very close eye on Tyler Reddick, because I believe that Richard Childress Racing, with their focus on one Xfinity car now, is going to be very dangerous this season. And I'm going to be interested to see Reddick away from a plate track. We know RCR's speedway cars are always really good. If he comes out of the box strong this weekend, look out for the champ to go back-to-back potentially before this year's over.
Okay. Cup Series on Sunday at Atlanta. I will go with Randy first because I can.
Oh, man. Okay, well, since I'm not going to pick Matt Benedetto, although, I mean,
I wish.
If the iron's hot. I'm actually going to pick Eric Jones because he finished 4th after all the bracket damage at Daytona, and I feel like JGR is going to come out just as strong as they were last year. So I'm going to go Eric Jones at Atlanta.
All right. Jacob Seelman.
New package, complete unknown. Last time we came with a new package, complete unknown. This guy won at Atlanta. He's going to do it again. 48, Jimmy Johnson.
Okay, Jimmy for the win, according to Jacob. Chris Murdoch is taking the 10 of Eric Almirola, or Armadillo, whichever fits. And I actually, that's interesting, is Brett Guzik picked Brad Keselowski,
who has been very good.
But see, this new package, I believe, is going to scramble things considerably.
I like scrambling.
And I'm going to take a real flyer on this, only because I can. Daniel Hemrick.
What?
Daniel Hemrick wins on Sunday at Atlanta in the 8 car.
What Kool-Aid have you been drinking?
It's a new package. I mean, I'm hoping anyways that it equalizes things enough for somebody like Hemrick to at least have a shot. I was going to pick William Byron again because he almost won me Daytona and because I think he's going to be up there. But I look at the guys who have run this package in the past and who are guys that really are good at tire wear. And I start thinking about how Hemrick is a very kind of conservative kind of driver who knows how to manage a car. And I think in Atlanta, this package, the tire wear is going to be tremendous. And I feel like there's an upset. I'm picking Hemrick to win it. There you go. Hey, I picked Trevor Bayne in 2011.
No, that's I'm not shocked at you anymore.
Well, all right. So
breaking news.
We have breaking news.
I'm reading the entry list and I'm so excited. I might be the only person that's actually noticed this yet. If I'm not, it's not been made a big enough deal yet on Twitter. Bubba Wallace has a new sponsor this weekend.
Oh, boy.
A new old sponsor. Not new to the sport, but new to the 43, and my gosh, this is cool. Richard Petty Motorsports has McDonald's on Bubba Wallace's Chevrolet Camaro this weekend.
I like that. So
I love it.
So Bubba's going to be a Big Mac
And so is Kyle Larson. I want to know how identical the paint schemes are and if we're going to have to pay close attention to tell them apart.
Well, what's interesting is that's also 42 and 43.
I know.
What's
up
really
with
weird.
that?
Yeah, that's interesting. So one of them will be the Hamburglar and the other one will be a clown.
Yes.
Hopefully, neither one will turn the car into a 10-piece chicken McNugget before the race is over.
I hope not.
But that's good. It's good to see.
I love it.
That Richard Petty Motorsports has had a hard time with sponsors. So
McDonald's
happy to see that.
Per Twitter, McDonald's deal with RPM and Bubba is separate from the CGR Larson Busch deal.
Okay, so this should be interesting, and of course we're all going to be in Atlanta. So
yes, we are all going to be in Atlanta, but guess what? The clock still says we have 3 minutes left. So
okay,
Randy, read the clock. I promise it won't lie to you.
Okay, that's fine. Go ahead.
So
do your thing.
I do want to puzzle over this for a minute, shall we?
Puzzle over it?
Yes, puzzle over this.
Is this a jigsaw puzzle or a crossword puzzle?
I don't know what kind of puzzle it's going to be. But
Where's the puzzle?
How close do you really think the racing's going to be to a Daytona Talladega style draft on Sunday?
I have no idea. I mean, I
don't think it's going to be as alike as we think because of how bad the tires wear in Atlanta.
I worry about this package, guys, because I worry because I feel like one of two things I don't feel like it's going to be okay. It's either going to be unbelievably good, like we enjoyed the All-Star race last year, and we're going to say, wow, this was amazing, or it's going to stink. I'm just afraid that it's going to I feel like this is going to be either feast or famine, and I don't know. I hope it's good. I'm going in optimistic. I have faith in it. We'll see. I think Atlanta is going to be different from some of the other tracks just because of the tire wear. It's a cheese grater.
Randy, do you have faith?
Of course. I always have faith. Always.
But do you have faith in the package?
Nah. I do. I mean, who really knows what's going to happen? As long as it makes the racing better and we don't sit here complaining every week about how crappy the races are, then I'm all for it.
I hope it's good. I love Atlanta. I think the thing that makes Atlanta what it is, frankly, is the fact that the tires wear so much, and it's very much a strategy racetrack.
And that's why I took the flyer with Hemrick. Brett Guzik says it'll be like Charlotte was for 5 laps. So when
He's
I'm
probably
thinking it's
right.
5 laps at a time in the beginning of the run with fresh tires.
Yeah.
But see, I'm hoping that everybody's cars go to junk, and you have to lift, and you have to use brakes, and you have to
Gonna be
hang
good.
on, and work the wheel, and that's what it's all about. With
my last tidbit: TV ratings were up almost 10% on the Daytona 500 Sunday. We have progress, people.
I think they were actually up on all 3 series all weekend long.
Yes,
so.
TV ratings were up across the board. Take that, haters that say NASCAR's dying. You're wrong.
Well, exactly. Wait till 21.
Exactly.
All
All
right,
right.
Take us out of here.
For Tom Baker, Randy Miller, Chris Murdoch, I'm Jacob Seelman. Keep it off the wall, folks. And if you're headed to a racetrack, we might just see you there. Have a safe racing weekend. Good night.
You've been listening to the Stock Car Show on the Performance Motorsports Network. Stay tuned to Performance Motorsports Network for more race talk. For the latest motorsports news, visit racechaseronline.com. The Stock Car Show is a copyrighted production of the Performance Motorsports Network. www.performancemotorsportsnetwork.com. A member of the Scorpion Radio Group Incorporated, and may not be rebroadcast, replicated, or saved in any media without the explicit written permission of PMN. Check out our Facebook page or our section on the PMN website. The opinions expressed on this program are those of the host, co-host, and guests, and do not necessarily reflect those of the management and ownership of either the Performance Motorsports Network or Scorpion Radio Group Incorporated, the advertisers, or the marketing partners. Be listening again next week when the Stock Car Show returns on Thursday night at 7 Eastern. Until then, stay tuned for more great motorsports programming on the Performance Motorsports Network.